everyone, this message is for you youngins who are getting into the workforce for the first time, or some of you all who haven't been in the workforce for a long time. Because of the Disabilities Act, no one can discriminate against you for certain disabilities, and they have to accommodate you in certain ways, okay? At my job, I can ask for a chair if I want, but very rarely have I ever even sat down on the job, even though a lot of people do. I would never, ever do that, because your boss depends on you to do as much as you can during a work shift, right? I think the best advice I ever got when I was 15, when I went to work, was always be doing something, okay? That is my number one advice. Don't be chatting around about what you did over the weekend. Nobody really cares, and nobody really listens anyway, but that's stuff you can talk about if you get a break, if you're lucky enough to get a break. But it is imperative that you shower, because if you're working as hard as you should be showering at least every day. During the winter sometimes I might skip a day, but yeah, in the summer sometimes I shower twice a day. But always be clean. Always wear clean clothes. Always rotate your work shoes if you can, because your shoes can hold an odor, you know. Also, make sure you press your clothes or steam them. I steam my work clothes. If there's one wrinkle, I'm going to steam it. But the second most important thing when you go back into the workforce, or in the workforce for the first time, is loyalty. Your boss depends on you to be there to cover a shift. If you don't, it causes so much stress for your manager or the owner of the business. I can't tell you how many times, when I was running the tree crew, if the head guy called out and he's got the expertise, and the other guys that are under him, they don't have a supervisor for the day, that can hold up a whole crew. Are you following me? This is true for almost any business. If you're the shift lead, or the supervisor or the manager, and you call out, that affects not just one position, but many positions, okay? Back to the loyalty, which is, I think, the second most important thing. Don't be at your job looking for other work, okay? Because that's going to get back to the boss. You don't think it will? Oh, yeah, it will. It'll get back. Yeah. And don't be so comfortable in your job that you don't think that you can't be replaced, because, honey, you can. You can be replaced in a New York second. So don't be naive about that one either. And don't be constantly asking for a raise. Hopefully you work for a boss that gives you some sick leave, annual leave if you're full-time, and they give regular increments. I had a policy that if you're chronically late, I would document that. If you were late 3 times in a row before the next time I gave out raises, you didn't get a raise, because you're not performing, you're not producing, right? So, but it's also important for your boss to be understanding. I remember my son got in a very bad accident. He was in the hospital for a week, and I had always covered all my shifts, but then I asked to have 2 days off so I could sit in the hospital with my son. He had never been hurt before in his life, and it was important for me to be there in the hospital with him 24/7, 24, right? She would not let me have off, and I said, then I quit. those are circumstances where if your boss is not being understanding about a medical emergency, then you don't want to work for that person. I'm telling you. And then if you got this boss that whenever, if you have a migraine or if you broke your arm or something, that they want to ask for a doctor's note. I don't know what the laws is on that, but it's a pain in the ass. It'll be a pain in the ass for you if you made that lie up and you weren't even in the hospital or whatever. Because I know a lot of managers and bosses who will call the hospital and say, was he admitted or she admitted? So don't lie, because the minute that you lie to your boss, the respect that they may have for you is going down the drain forever. They know if you lie about that, you'll lie about everything, okay? And I think here's the third most important thing, is respect the equipment that you work with. I've had so many employees that would run over chainsaws, and you know why? Because I always made the driver of the truck or the foreman always walk around the equipment before you move that equipment. And so I would take it out of their checks because they're not doing their job. A decent chainsaw now probably, I think, costs maybe $1,000 now? I don't know, but equipment is very expensive. So respect the equipment that you work with. Take care of it. I remember when I first started out in the tree business, I fired a guy because he drove an hour and a half to a job without filling up the chainsaws. Or here's a good one. I think the only time my ex ever got upset was the groundsman did not fill up the saw after my ex was like hoisting it up the tree, gets the chainsaw in his hand, has no gas in it. Or here's even worse, when you haven't filed down the blades on the chainsaw. Always keep your equipment in good repair. That means make sure you got oil in it. And if you ever borrow any equipment from anyone, make sure that you check the oil to make sure you don't blow up the damn engine, right? That happens a lot when like a neighbor will borrow a rototiller or a lawnmower and you don't check the oil. That is just a downright negligence, right? So it's very important. I just passed a cop with radar on this road. This is the road I always tell people. It's 205. Don't speed on this road. They're going to catch you sooner or later. So, let's see. Also, here's another one. Whenever new programs come down through the line or new procedures or standard operational procedures come down or new requirements for your job, you have to keep up on them, because that is just life. This world is progressing so fast into the 21st century with all these computers and stuff. You want to keep up on every new thing that's coming down the line. So many people are afraid. Like I even did a video last week about the smartphone. There's nothing to be afraid about that. There's nothing to be afraid of. You can't make a mistake, right? You can't. Don't be afraid to learn new things, because you're going to have to. If not, these young kids who are familiar with this stuff is going to take over your job if you are stagnant in that you don't want to learn new things, right? So take heed. And this advice is good for anybody who's been in the workforce forever too. Okay? Always keep busy. Be loyal. Nothing is... I always said an employee that shows up is worth a diamond. They're worth diamonds, yes. One that just shows up when they're supposed to.